Come in, Southern California. This is Radio Free Los Angeles. Do you copy? Repeat, do you copy?
Now broadcasting from behind the Iron Curtain in the People's Republic of California, we bring you the voice of free men, free markets, and limited constitutional government. Welcome to citizen-sponsored Radio Free Los Angeles, with the president of the California Tax Limitation Committee, Mike Alexander, and America's funniest reporter, Carl Kozlowski.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Mike Alexander here again. And when I left the Super Bowl game earlier this evening, we got to catch the end of it here at the station. Pretty exciting.
Yeah.
I guess the final score was what, 41-33?
Oh, was it 41? I know it was at least 38-33.
Fantastic. Well, at any rate, I fear, I'm hoping that everybody who's still sober and not angry over the outcome found a way to listen, but somehow I have the feeling that we may be talking to the week's smallest audience. But in any event, if you're out there and you'd like to say a few things about what we're doing here, what we're talking about, our number here is, Carl. 866.
I wasn't ready for that one, sir.
Go right
ahead.
Stump the band.
Yeah.
All right.
866-870-5752.
Right.
866-870-5752.
Very good. And he said it's sober.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, that's why I was delayed, Mike. I'm altered. Yeah.
Hey, it's great to have everybody here again. And we want to welcome to the studio Manny Soprano, friend of Carl.
Come on in,
Yeah. So he's one of good friends of TPAC and the California Tax Limitation Committee, and he allowed us how he'd listened to the show the last 2 weekends and liked it a lot. So welcome, Manny. We're happy to have you here today, and of course we have the indefatigable Jonathan Wilson here in the studio, managing the camera. So if you guys can see me, you'll note that I'm not formally dressed. I don't have my coat or tie.
Shame on you, Mike.
I know.
Something's wrong when the comedian is better dressed than the man who spends his career with financial principles. What's going on here?
I know. I look like the ice cream man. Maybe I could run for government.
Yeah.
In any event, we're really happy to have you here tonight. And what we're going to do, I'll give you a little bit of an outline of what we're going to talk about. I've got my own take on the House Intelligence Committee memorandum that came out this last week. I've got a few choice words for a friend of mine over in Pico Rivera, who seems to think that the military in general and Marines in particular are the lowest of the low, or something to that effect. We'll deal with him.
Not a smart comment, yeah.
No, it wasn't. He got himself a little bit of a protest yesterday.
Yeah.
He's lucky somebody didn't open up a can of, shall we say, whooping over there. We'll keep this nice. We also have the first Grifter of the Week award this week, and we'll let you know later on who it is. You will be shocked, but perhaps not surprised if you know anything about this issue. We'll talk about a few other things, including pending bankruptcy in so many cities here in the state of California. As you know, ladies and gentlemen, the purpose of our radio show here is outreach from the California Tax Limitation Committee to the citizens of California. The most important office in government is the office of citizen. We talk about our primary principles, free men, free markets, limited constitutional government, but more than anything else that we've spoken about from the beginning of this movement back in 2009 has been an emphasis on the responsibility of the citizen. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, you and I are the ones who have the ability to vote. We don't vote in nearly the numbers that we can or should. We are self-governed. Yes, we're frustrated by our bureaucracies, but ultimately we have to accept the responsibility of governing ourselves and dealing with these problems. It's not for somebody else to do. It is not for somebody else to deal with. It is our shared responsibility. And this show is designed not to be another alternative to talk radio. There's lots of people out there doing talk radio, lots of people in think tanks. We like to see ourselves as the do tank. Our message is geared to those people who actually want to do something, try to understand what it is that they can do, how we can do it, and most importantly, get busy supporting us and others who are trying to make all of this happen. Jonathan, are you on a live mic?
I'm not right now.
Oh, you're not. Well, I was just going to have you give us our website is radiofreelosangeles.net. Now, that's all spelled out.
I think it's .us, no?
Yeah, radiofreelosangeles.net, and there's a contribute sign there that Jonathan, our webmaster, set up. Is that the correct website there, Jonathan?
That is correct.
All right, excellent.
Okay, sorry.
We have certification from over here. So go there and be generous. Throughout the program, we're going to acknowledge a number of people who have supported us, and we'll get to that. But right now, let's get right into the program itself and the meat of what we're talking about. In the last week, we finally got a copy of the infamous memo. And this memo, which was prepared by the House Intelligence Committee, chaired by Devin Nunes of Fresno, communicated, or I should say certified and confirmed what had been leaked, what had been known, what had been pieced together throughout the past year. As you know, this program does not deal with the federal follies, and so my comments are not to chime in with everybody else who has commented at length. But you know and I know what ultimately happened here. There's a group of people inside the FBI, inside the Department of Justice, working with people in the Clinton campaign, working with other fellow travelers throughout the federal government who decided that they were going to interfere with our election. Now, you have to wonder what kind of mindset it is. And I submit to you that it's a totalitarian mindset, not that these people see themselves as the equivalent of Stalin's or Hitler's or Mao Zedong's or any of these other people, but they behave that way, as if the people's expressed choices about the president, our shared right to free elections, uninterfered with by bureaucracies or anybody else. We're entitled to those, but yes, somewhere in their minds, they concluded that they knew better than we did. And that's why our great experiment in democracy remains the most revolutionary event in the history of Western civilization, because back in the 1700s, we concluded that we can and should govern ourselves in a very particular way. And our right to govern ourselves, our right to control our lives, our freedom, our future, our property, our families, and so forth, remain just as controversial and just as under attack as they ever were. And that mindset you will find in dozens of places throughout the United States. This problem is not a problem, ladies and gentlemen, that just exists at the federal level. You'll find it in your planning department. Anybody visited the Department of Motor Vehicles lately and dealt with those room temperature morons down there? But their attitude is even worse than their intelligence. It is outrageous, but nowhere is this attitude more pervasive or more troublesome than it is in our public so-called school system. They feel free to tell anybody what they want them to think. No matter what the parents say, they're going to teach them something different. We support the military, they don't support it. We support a president, they're busy tearing it down. We support free markets, they preach socialism.
Yeah,
they feel free to tell your tell your little boy that he might be a little girl, or your little girl that she might be a little bit boy, and that somehow all of us are still transitioning, you know? Is there anything more ridiculous? How's your transition going, Carl? All right.
I've managed to stop. But, I managed to protest that effectively, yeah.
No, I'm feeling kind of gender fluid tonight.
Are you really?
Yeah.
So that's why you didn't have the jacket on.
You don't look gender fluid.
All right.
I'd hate to see that guy in a dress, that's for sure.
I plead guilty. But, I'm going to get back onto this. There's my thanks. My jerk.
He just doesn't want to hear any more about the gender fluid.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, I just got a heads up from William Sullivan. Thanks very much. He's our engineer. He guides us through this and keeps us busy. On the other side, we're going to pick up a call from Mike Mallard out in Lancaster who wants to talk about school choice. Then I will get back and deal with Mr. Gregory Salcido
watch
in
out,
Pico
Greg.
Rivera.
All right.
If you like what you're hearing and would like to support Radio Free Los Angeles and the California Tax Limitation Committee, please call area code 626-792-1772, 626-792-1772, or kindly visit our website, catlc.net, catlc.net. You can also watch Radio Free Los Angeles on Facebook Live at radiofreela.us.
If you'd like to talk with Radio Free Los Angeles, the phone lines are wide open. 866-870-KRLA. That's 866-870-5752. We're live, local, and here to talk with you. 866-870-KRLA.
All right. Back with you, ladies and gentlemen, and there's nothing more stirring or motivating than that march or attack theme from the movie Patton. It's fantastic. Can we put Mike Mallard here from Lancaster? Is he up there? Michael, are you on? Line 1, please.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Are you there, Mike?
Yes, I am. Actually, the last name's Millard, Millard.
Got it.
Your friend Eric Chan kind of was impressed on the stuff I had written on school choice, and he asked me to give you a call. And I like that Patton stuff, too. That was a great movie. One of my favorites.
Mine, too. We always watch it on rerun. Love it. Mm-hmm. Mike, you had a question on school choice. Fire away.
Well, I'm absolutely convinced that I know how to make it happen. I got tired of waiting for somebody smarter than myself to put in writing a proposal for school choice that would resonate with California voters, and I certainly recognize this is a state where 60% of the electorate went for Hillary, so
yes.
You have to understand who your audience is. There's some places where you can just say, hey, I'm a conservative Republican, and everybody says, yeah, but that's not California. But just the same, people think that school choice would never fly in California, and they just are absolutely wrong.
I agree.
I know how we could make it. I've written something that I've reduced it to a 709-word proposal, which, if it ever got on the ballot, could win in California. What I can't find is a politician in California who is brave enough to stand up and make themselves the target of the furious wrath of the California Teachers Association. My most recent rejection came from Travis Allen.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was interesting. Let me take that up. We were at a debate out in the Inland Empire put on by our old friends. Was it Redland Patriots? Or Redland?
Yes. Redlands.
Yeah, Redlands Patriots. And they one of the most active groups around, and I'm not sure what the website, I have to get that and give it out for any of you out there in the Inland Empire, although a lot of you probably listen on, KTIE, your sister station out there in San Bernardino. But in any event, they had Travis Allen there and Cox. John Cox is the first name. So those are the two principal Republican candidates seeking the nomination for governor, and both of them talked about school choice. But, Mike, I have no doubt that when push came to shove, that they went the other way. And our top problem over the years with school choice, I believe, has been suburban Republicans who are satisfied with their own schools and never pay attention to the terrible schools that are in the inner cities, particularly with Latino students, black students, and white students or people of any race, but in poor districts where their results are very, very poor and they're not getting the tools that they need. So I'm not surprised about Travis. Mike, we don't have a lot of time. Can you give me the key features of your proposal? And
okay. Well, I emailed them all to you. Did you happen to get my email?
When did you do that, Mike? Tonight?
About a week ago. No, about 4 or 5 days ago.
Well, I'm very sorry if my staff failed to pick it up. I'll whoop up on them tomorrow. But the buck stops here, so it must have been my failure. But we're going to retrieve that. And in fact, Mike, can you give us just one of the key features of school choice? For example, do you support educational savings accounts? What?
Well, the specifics is kind of yes and no. My approach is the initiative uses the term financial acknowledgement.
Yeah.
And we got about 60 seconds, a little more.
Yeah, you got 60 seconds. Go, buddy. I'll give you 60.
Okay. Well, anyways, it starts out by saying every California child is a valued part of humanity's future and shall be recognized as such under California law. So we start off saying that all children matter. Every California child is worthy to receive financial acknowledgement that their education advances the public good. And then the escape clause comes in. Okay, well now we're going to fund all the kids. What if we don't have enough money for all of the kids? Well, real simple. The parents required to pay out of pocket will be the rich parents. So instead of it's basically the question comes down to how do we separate those families entitled to receive financial acknowledgement?
Right.
Their child's education advances the public good.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, we don't pay any attention to family income level. That's no consideration is given to that.
Yeah.
No matter how rich you are, if you send your kid to Beverly Hills High School, the taxpayers will pick up the tab. But if you could be earning minimum wage, and if you send your kids to a low-cost private school instead of a higher-cost public school, you forfeit that financial acknowledgement, and you have to pay out of your own pocket. And, of course, the California Teachers Association thinks this is a lovely way to do it.
Well, basically, the major reason I want to, and I thank you for calling, Mike, and I'll just respond to a couple of those things. And I'll pull up your proposal and maybe drop you a note. We can talk next week. I'd like to hear a lot more of you calling in on the subject because it's a passion of mine. Let's start off with what the school system is. The school system is not about education. It is about cash flow to the bureaucracy. It's how teachers and bureaucrats and an infinity of administrators and hangers-on and people, what I call the bond pimps, those are the people on Wall Street that sell these bonds. We're going to get into a new one coming up in San Marino here. But these people are all about cash flow, and that's what they want from people at any given time. And income, I think, ought to have nothing to do with it because all of us over the years are going to pay plenty of taxes on real estate. You pay if you own your property, you pay real estate taxes. If you rent property, trust me, you're paying real estate taxes. It's included in your rent. So, if you're living in California, whether you rent or own, if you own a business, if you rent business, you're paying property taxes, believe me, and you're going to pay a portion of those taxes are going to go to schools and everything else, and you're going to pay them just because you're here in California, and those taxes start from the first day that you pay rent, somewhere around 18 or 25, whatever your time is, those are paid forever. And so there's no question that even the poorest parents are ultimately paying for education. But the trouble is that they pay once, twice, and 10 times. First time they pay is in the rent. Second time they might pay is later on in their business or their home mortgage. But the worst place is they don't get what their children need. They don't come away with a mastery of English. They don't come away with the mastery of basic mathematics. They don't come away with the facility to read at grade level, but that should be no surprise since most of those teachers don't read at grade level. Go ahead, call me. It is abysmal, and whenever the test starts showing the truth, well, they move the goalposts and they change the testing or they change the definitions. But the whole thing is an outrage, and there's no politician. Read my lips or read my airwaves, whatever you want to say. There's no politician that is ever going to do it. And, Mike, one of the things that you got absolutely right was the fact that no politician is going to take on the California Teachers Association, because they, unlike most of you listening here to me today, pay $1,000 a year in dues to the California so-called Teachers Association, and that comes to $350 million a year. Each one of them pays that $1,000 a year. Now, this is actually a great time for me to thank some people and to ask you to contribute to keeping this citizen-sponsored radio program on the air. I'd like to thank some of the people that have been contributing to us for years and even up to today. That would include Jim of Altadena. You know who you are, and you've been so generous in helping maintain and furnish the offices. We got Bill in Glendale. Bill, you know who you are. Thank you so much for all of your effort out there and continuing for all of these years. We have John, affectionately known as Juan Tierra, who is in Los Angeles. He's been a volunteer and a longtime supporter. Judy and Ed of South Pasadena. And Judy keeps our books impeccably. She keeps our Day One, Penny One report, and has for many years. I'm going to recognize some other people later on, but right now I'd like to encourage all of you to go to Radio Free Los Angeles, all spelled out, radiofreelosangeles.net. Hit that contribute button, make it hurt. Make it hurt you, not me. We need some money over here. I do not get paid. Nobody in this room is getting paid here tonight. We're here volunteer. Don't leave us alone. We're up here on the front lines.
Show us some love, right?
Give us some love, absolutely.
Yeah, because we're actually giving you information that you can use, that you want to hear. This isn't, as I like to say, this isn't, a 1953 concert by the Mamas and the Papas or something. No. We're actually giving you, like they do on PBS. We're actually giving you a show that you go, wow, okay, I didn't know that happened. We can act on this.
Yeah, but I have to say, did anybody ever have a warmer, better alto voice or rhythm than Mama Cass Elliott?
Well, let's give her a shout, sure.
Yeah, she would.
I like the Mamas and the Papas.
All right, I'm sorry. I made the wrong choice.
I know.
Wow. Okay, Pete Seeger. Okay, that's a avowed communist. So Pete Seeger, you're not paying for a rerun of his special.
You're going to give people Lawrenceville Village a heart attack there, Kozlowski. Hey, let's see, I've got about 3 minutes left, and I want to get started on this guy, Gregory Salcido, out there in Pico Rivera. Pico Rivera is in the southeast area where I grew up, and this guy Salcido is a councilman, a city councilman there, and also somebody gave him a teaching certificate and hired him to teach, quote unquote. We'll put very large quotes around that teach in I think it's Rancho or El Rancho High School out there. Anyway, in the last week or so, one of his students showed up with the U.S. Marines T-shirt on. This set off Salcido. I guess he got in touch with his inner Hillary and decided to go into some type of a hormonal rant and making all kinds of negative remarks about people in the military being of low intelligence, non-academic, non-intellectual, all that sort of thing. And he concluded by characterizing the military in general and Marines in particular as the lowest of the low. All right. Well, speaking as one of the lowest of the low and a proud veteran of the United States Marine Corps, I would really like to meet with him personally sometime and take this matter up. And believe me, his comments as cowardly comments were not met with friendly ears in this young man's family, which included, I guess, a couple of brothers in the Corps and an uncle or grandfather who had fought probably in Vietnam. The military in general and the Marine Corps even, which is focused on infantry, includes officers and enlisted men of the very highest caliber. And, sometimes, Mr. Salcido, it does include the lowest of the low. And those are guys that are coming out of high school and maybe don't have a lot of direction, and they decide to take on the challenge of becoming a young Marine. And they meet that challenge in a way that you never will, Salcido. You know my number. It's right here. You can call me, 866-870-5752.
Come in, Southern California. This is Radio Free Los Angeles. Do you copy? Repeat, do you copy?
Now broadcasting from behind the Iron Curtain in the People's Republic of California, we bring you the voice of free men, free markets, and limited constitutional government. Welcome to citizen-sponsored Radio Free Los Angeles with the president of the California Tax Limitation Committee, Mike Alexander, and America's funniest reporter, Carl Kozlowski.
All right. Hey, welcome back, everybody. That was the voice of Basil Hoffman. We want to thank him again for a superb voiceover broadcast there. It's just fantastic.
I thought it was the voice of God, Mike. You're disappointing me. But, hey, Basil did a great job, though.
He did. It's amazing. Right now, so we've talked about inflexible, unresponsive government, which is, really a multiple redundancy. I know that. We have talked here at great length about the top two problems that we have in California, and they are related. The first problem that we are in a fiscal crisis throughout the state of California. And that fiscal crisis is expressed first and foremost in our pension deficit, which is maybe hard to understand, but it's money that we were supposed to set aside for our public employees who are retired now and who are working for us in cities and counties and states and the state of California. That's money supposed to be set aside. We haven't set aside enough. And the people who are experts in such matters have run calculations, including CalPERS, that's a California Pension and Retirement System, so-called system, but that scam operation is willing to admit that it's several $100 billion underwater, and it's just not going to recover, right?
Yeah.
And as a result of that, they have started to increase the pension contributions that have to be made by the cities. Now, there was an excellent article today. And it's Dan Walters. He's a statewide guy. I think you'll find him mostly in the Sacramento Bee. But Dan Walters is kind of a down-the-middle reporter who has been excellent on these issues of the pension crisis. And ironically, we'll talk more about it, the L.A. Times, which I've called L.A. Pravda for years. It's usually a commie rag. But on this issue of pensions and the fiscal crisis that's confronting our state, the L.A. Times has been very, very, very good, and we're going to reference one of their articles. So when people do good journalism, I think we need to recognize it, even if they're people that we use as piñatas the rest of the time. But when they do good work, we have to accept that support where we find it. This is a nonpartisan program. So at any rate, Dan Walters points out some of the same things that you and I have talked about here, and he goes into CalPERS, which is all of our favorite whipping boy, and that thing lost about $100 billion back during the stock downturn. Now the problem is when your portfolios lose $100 billion, they don't always bounce right back. It takes a while. So now you're down at a lower starting point. Volatility, as we know, inflation and volatility are the two great enemies of returns and portfolios. Well, their volatility hit them. Hey, I thought you were the one that was drinking today, Carl. I'm stumbling over volatility.
A lot of big words there, Mike. A lot of big words.
I know. So at any rate, as a result of this underfunding, which is kind of a general word, it's like calling a tsunami a flood, or a leaky basement. As a result of this underfunding, they have jacked up the contributions that the cities have to pay. Now, bear in mind that most of the cities are already showing very large underfundings. For example, city of San Marino, about $22 million. City of Glendale, over $455 to $500 million, and that's based on CalPERS phony numbers. Real numbers are actually much higher, maybe about $1 billion. But in any event, they're forcing these cities to pony up more money. Now that's going to put pressure on everything, and a lot of the cities that we've throughout California, and I'm talking about all of California, are wondering how they're going to make it. And as there's a gal named Marina Gallegos, I guess it's Gallegos, the human resources officer in Salinas, said what we've all said, and that is that the growth is unsustainable. Now, of course, my problem with people like Ms. Gallegos is the fact that they keep doing what they're doing. They keep very high police and firemen salaries. They don't move to a defined contribution system as they should right now. But as a result, this whole thing is going downhill very fast. The city of Oroville doesn't know how it's going to operate. And if you talk with councilmen throughout the San Gabriel area, and I do sometimes, they will privately tell you that they're not even sure that they understand the numbers, much less how they're going to cope with it. And many of you will be shocked to learn that the already generous police and fire salaries, which are sometimes in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, that the cities have to kick in another 50 cents on top of every dollar that they pay them. Well, that 50 cents isn't getting paid. And as a result, and this is something that I thought I would never see. I'm glad I'm sitting down. Because I had not read this article until I got here, fully until I got here. And I went back over and I caught one paragraph. And apparently the California League of Cities has done a study. Now, usually these, getting information out of these people, it's like, a press release from the Clintons or the Politburo, or the Chinese Central Committee or something like that. It's usually always bogus nonsense. I'm trying to be clean about this. In any event, they announced this, and I want everybody to pay attention to it. This was a surprise even to me. I mean, that is so early in the game. And they predict, they hired a study that predicts that over the next 7 years, pension costs will double.
Jeez. All
right. Now, in financial terms, guys, imagine any one of your expenses doubling in the next 7 years. If your rent, which, is always going up, you're used to maybe going up $50 or maybe $100 every year or so. But imagine if your $1,000 a month rent in 7 years is going to become $2,000. That's all. Same place. That's just 7 short years. That's not a long time in a period of relatively low inflation. And, by the way, we are right now, when you look at their numbers, we are right now in a stock market boom that's moving up. And even with that improved performance, these clowns are saying that those costs are going to double. But as a matter of fact, ladies and gentlemen, and I want you to listen even closer, that isn't even close to what needs to be paid. So doubling that is going to have a lot of effects on local government. So they're already they've already hired too many people. They're already doing too many things. They're already built, like Pasadena, those stupid bicycles. And how about the stupid bicycle paths?
Yeah.
textured crosswalks, buses carrying people, to and from stupid activities, whatever it is, people sitting around listening to storytelling time, adult daycare centers, and other such nonsense. They're already doing all of that, right? And hiring people at incredible salaries. And then on top of that, they're not paying their pensions, and now they're going to have to not pay their pensions at twice the level. Now, all kidding aside, what's going to happen is that if you're the kind of person that believes that cities deliver valuable services, and even if you're willing to pay for them generally, and you're not as negative about these people as I am, you have to confront the fact that those revenues are going to go down. The amount of money they're going to be able to allocate to those services is going to be reduced because they're going to have to make up those pension deficits. Now, I want to tell you something else. What's our time? 8:42. I still got time, huh? I got 2 minutes here. I wanted to tell you something very important, and then we'll continue it here on the other side. But basically, every building that the city has, everything of value, every book at the library, every ball and bat and golf club at the Parks and Recreation Department is property of the city that will be sold off first to pay their pensions. And local public services then will go back, will go negative. And that's why so many cities in the state of California are contemplating and are uttering the B word, and that B word would be bankruptcy. That's why your effort and my effort are required more than ever to work at fiscal reform in these cities. We have to get rid of the defined benefit program that we have right now. We have to move to defined contribution. We need to cut government. In fact, I'll take that back. We need to gut it, not cut it. And that's why I want you to support us here at
RadioFreeLosAngeles.net.
Well, again, Mike had a little too good a time during the game.
Right.
Yeah, and we need calls. 866-870-5752.
You got, there's always a smart kid in the front seat.
If you like what you're hearing and would like to support Radio Free Los Angeles and the California Tax Limitation Committee, please call area code 626-792-1772, 626-792-1772, or kindly visit our website, catlc.net, catlc.net. You can also watch Radio Free Los Angeles on Facebook Live at radiofreela.us.
If you'd like to talk with Radio Free Los Angeles, the phone lines are wide open. 866-870-KRLA. That's 866-870-5752. We're live, local, and here to talk with you. 866-870-KRLA.
All right. We're back with you here, Radio Free Los Angeles. Mike Alexander and Carl Kovzlowski. By his own opinion, the funniest guy in town. Say something funny, Carl. All right.
Yeah, put me on the spot like that. Come on. But, hey, it's award season. Everybody keeps hearing it all hyped in the news about the Oscars and all that. The Grammys were just last week. But I think, Mike, you've come up with, I think, the ultimate award, something that's really fun, the Grifter of the Week.
Yes.
So who do you want to let people know is the Grifter of the Week this week?
All right. Now, we talked about this earlier in the week. We need music. We're going to have to put that together. But
something really shady and film noir-y.
Right.
Do we have a drum roll or anything?
Yeah,
I don't terrible. Yep. Manny's a musician. He can do it.
We'll have to improvise here.
Ooh, he really can.
A little Latin beat.
Oh, my goodness.
That's great. Not
Louis
bad.
Prima himself is reincarnated.
All right.
I'm a musician.
He is.
All right. Perfect 120.
I'm dying to know the Grifter of the Week.
All right. Well, the nominees are from the city of Glendale. Right.
That was a Polish beat. Okay.
Recycling coordinator at $92,000 per year.
Ooh, wow.
Oh, right.
I'd like to apply for that job.
I know.
What?
Don't ask me what it is. That's why it's Grifter of the
Wow.
Week.
Jeez.
Right. So if you are the recycling coordinator for Glendale, please call in. We'd love to know what you do.
Yeah,
okay, right.
So finally,
Yeah, right.
They're in charge of just going, the plastics go here,
I'm sure
the glass goes here.
They're on a pension too, right?
I know.
Yeah, 5% increase a year for pension, yeah.
I know. You got to speak 2 or 3 languages to deal with the people with those grocery carts, But bringing all the bottles.
The hookahs.
Hookahs, yeah. Our second nominee for the week is from, believe it or not, San Marino, and we have at $150,000 per year.
Wow.
The meals coordinator.
What?
Meal and food coordinator.
What?
For San Marino
The
School.
lunch lady.
It says that.
Yeah, right.
She's the lunch lady.
Oh, well, you sexist.
Lunch lady.
She's the lunch lady with a degree.
You gender.
$155,000 for sloppy joes.
Caloric content.
Yeah.
Wait, did you say $150,000?
150.
Wow.
Yeah, right. Not including.
I'm in the wrong field. I'm
Not
getting out of
including.
here.
Not including pension or health care or walking around money and so forth. And you gender discriminate.
Water District.
At any rate, and now now that person was the winner going into Friday, and then I woke up this morning and I saw a headline in the L.A. Times, L.A. Pravda, no less, right? And the headline was, and this is a really great headline, battling treacherous office chairs and aching backs, aging cops and firefighters miss years of work and collect twice the pay. Whoa, nice lead in. They talk about a well-known program in the Los Angeles Police Department and other places called DROP, as a drop the hammer on the taxpayer. DROP is Deferred Retirement Option Plan, and basically it is an arrangement negotiated with the police and fire unions that permits officers of a certain age, usually the early 50s, to retire and continue to work. And while they're retired, they receive their pensions, but their pensions are paid into a trust account, and they continue to earn interest at 5% a year, plus a cost of living adjustment.
Jeez.
So, that's nice. Those guys are probably about the only guys that are getting that 7 or 7.5% return, that fantasy return that CalPERS thinks it's getting and doesn't on their investments. But in any event, they get that. They go back to work, and then they follow a time-honored practice among many aging firefighters and policemen. They start filing workers' comp claims on all their aches and pains and hangnails and all that sort of thing, and they start working and scamming the workers' compensation system. Now, there are a number of officers and applicants who are mentioned in this article. I don't know any of them personally. I have not personally investigated them, so please, I'm not making any of those remarks necessarily apply to them as named. But I will say that they've got a husband and wife tag team. They're the Morrises, who.
Oh my God!
Yeah, all right.
They're gonna have a long week.
Well, I'm just quoting a quote.
Yeah.
The Morrises are far from alone. In fact, they're among hundreds of Los Angeles police and firefighters who have turned the DROP program, which has doled out more than $1.6 billion in extra pension payments since its inception in 2002, into an extended leave at nearly twice the pay.
Awesome.
For example, former police captain Darrell Russell, who collected $1.5 million over 5 years in the program, missed nearly 3 of those years because of pain from a bad knee, carpal tunnel, and multiple injuries he claimed he suffered after falling out of an office chair.
What?
Well, no, hey, the chair was defective, man.
He probably fell out of his chair when he found out how much money he could scam off of people. Like, what?
The cop said so. I mean, this one of the favorite stories here. There's another guy, another former firefighter who was an avid runner who runs in Long Beach. He hurt his knee, quote, and I don't know who the illiterate was that filled out his workers' compensation application, but, quote, misstepping off the fire truck 3 weeks after entering drop, according to the city records. The injury kept him off a job for almost a full year. But now wait, that's not all, folks. Less than 2 months after the knee injury, a man by the same name from Long Beach crossed the finish line of a half marathon in Portland, Oregon.
That's a miracle.
In a brisk. It's a miracle. Let me say, Jesus still walks the earth. Yeah, and he was there when this guy crossed in a record time of 2 hours, 5 minutes, and 23 seconds. They even had a picture of him raising his hand in a little victory thing there. So there were, but people talk about this. So these guys.
So is he in trouble for this or not?
Well,
I mean,
really? That's the point. They're not in trouble. And we have one of these guys who collect a couple of million. They're all in on it together, ladies and gentlemen. We are paying the price for all of this, and these guys are just a few of the examples. But even these occasional grifters, our grifters of the week, are not the problem. Our problem is this infinity of people, including janitors, that have to be in the pension system when the whole matter should be outsourced. But in any event, on this lonely Super Bowl radio night, we do have another caller, Ed Schrader from South Pasadena. Would like to talk to us about more privatization. Ed, come in. Are you there?
I sure am. Hi, Mike. Great show. Thanks for the plug. We actually live in Pasadena.
Oh, okay.
With minor detail.
Well, you owe more pension then.
I wondered if with all the pension problems, a better move would be to grandfather people in that have put in money to their pensions, but start privatizing or subcontracting out a lot of these city services and get out of the pension business, because government just works, even with the best people working, it's so inefficient and costly.
Yes. Ed, you're absolutely right. And for all of you public employees out there, if any of you happen to be listening here tonight, I encourage you to listen to me and not to be too angry, because actually, whether you believe it or not, I'm on your side. Your pensions are not going to be paid. All right? Listen again. Your pensions are not going to be paid. If you think that ultimately when these pensions come due, that the taxpayers are going to be able to pay these monies, much less willing to do so, you are crazy. You're absolutely out of your mind. It's not going to happen. And when that happens, your pensions are going to be gone. We're going to be dealing with this problem at the wrong time. And this is why Ed is absolutely correct. We need to move to privatize your pension system. How do we do that? First thing we do is to go over to the government equivalent of a 401k program. You get your salary, whatever it is that we negotiate, and then you get up to 10% of your compensation that can go into a retirement program. How much you contribute, how much the city contributes is a matter of negotiation, but that money goes into an account that you own, you, the city employee. It doesn't go into that Ponzi scheme, that cesspool, that criminal operation called CalPERS up there. It is the world's worst run mutual fund, in effect. You need to get your money out of there. All of us, in Ed's words, all of us need to get out of the pension business. It isn't working for any of us. It's an absolute disaster. Ed, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
No. I think that's you answered that. Answering the question very well. I think it's just a good move, and I know your message was blunt, but that's very true. We can't afford to pay all what's been promised.
It's not going to get paid. The best thing that we can do right now is to figure out, I got a few minutes left. Let me just take a quick shot at it. I believe that the solution to our problem is, first of all, that starting tomorrow, every new hire goes into a defined contribution program, as I described. Everybody's going to be on a 401k program, no more dream scheme pension plans. For everybody on a current pension, currently employed, and is on the old pension plan, for every new dollar that you get, starting next week, all of your compensation would be treated the same way as new employees. And for everybody on the old dollar, the best way for us to do it is to revert to the way that the plan was in 1998 and go back to 2% for a maximum of 20 years instead of the 3% for a maximum of 30 years. That would render our pension system solvent and maybe then some. Whatever money is in there, we treat it as a bad experience, pay it out according to whatever it is. Pay it out according to whatever it is, stick with it, and pay it out. And then we just move on from there. That would put our fiscal houses in order almost immediately. There would still be a fair amount of money to pay down, but we could do it. We would still have outrageous salaries, but we'd be on our way. Hey, that music that's coming up reminds me that our time is up. Join us again next week, but please go to Radio Free Los Angeles. That's all spelled out. RadioFreeLosAngeles.net. Give us a little love. Carl, Manny, welcome here. Thank you. And Jonathan Wilson,
great to be with you, Mike.
Thanks for listening, folks.
See everybody next week.